Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Ever thought about what it's really like to walk into a new church on a Sunday? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the Oak Community Church and give you a real inside look at what you can expect. Thinking about visiting a new church? I mean, let's be honest. Walking into a new place for the first time can feel, well, a little intimidating, right? You're probably wondering what the vibe is like, what the people are like, what the whole experience is going to be. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. So, to kind of take all that guesswork out of it, we're going to walk you through a typical Sunday at the Oak. We'll look at everything from the moment you arrive, the music, the message, the whole shebang. That way you can get a real feel for what their community is all about. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the sound of worship. The music is pretty much the first thing you'll experience when you walk in, and it really sets the tone for the whole service at the Oak. And what's really cool is how they blend the old with the new. So you'll hear these beautiful classic hymns like Great is Thy Faithfulness that focus on these timeless ideas of God's faithfulness. It's actually a pretty amazing way to connect different generations through songs everyone knows. But then, right alongside those hymns, they'll jump into more modern worship songs. The lyrics here, they often express this deep sense of awe, a really strong focus on God. It's a very direct and personal kind of worship. And a theme you're going to hear again and again is the story of Jesus. This really puts a spotlight on their focus on his sacrifice and resurrection. I mean, that's a total cornerstone of their beliefs and their worship. So you put all this music together, and it creates this really specific atmosphere. It feels like the goal is to create a space where people can feel a tangible sense of God's presence. Kind of like heaven and earth feel just a little bit closer. But a church is way more than just the music, right? So after the worship, the focus really shifts to the community itself, to the people, their lives, their stories. And honestly, this is where you really start to see the heart of the Oak. So on some Sundays, they have this thing called Testimony Sunday. And it's pretty much what it sounds like, an open mic time where anyone, and I mean anyone, can get up and share a personal story about where they've seen God at work in their life. And let me tell you, these moments can be just incredibly powerful, super raw and real. This quote here is from a guy named Peter. He stood up and shared this unbelievable story about his mom's recovery from a stroke and a brain tumor, right after the whole church had been praying for her. Wow. And this culture of support, it's not just talk. You really see it in action. Like, there was this one time a couple who'd been there forever was moving on to a new chapter, and the whole community just gathered around them, laid hands on them, and prayed to send them off with love. It's powerful stuff. I think this quote from a member really says it all. Sometimes you don't realize how rare things are if you're immersed in them, but not everywhere is as loving as this. It just shows they get it. They know that what they have, that authentic care for each other, it's special, and they don't take it for granted. Okay, so after all the worship and community sharing, one of the pastors gets up to give a message. And the whole goal here is to take biblical ideas and connect them to your actual everyday life. The teaching style is just super relatable. For instance, in a sermon about dealing with big life changes, they use the analogy of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, and they compared that to all kinds of personal transformations. Like going from unbelief to being a follower of Jesus, or from being stuck in fear to finding bravery. And the topics are always designed to be practical, like really relevant. It's not just abstract theology stuff. It's about how faith actually connects with real-world things, like navigating big transitions or figuring out what to do when you're in a season of waiting. And here's something that really stands out. The pastors are vulnerable. They don't get up there and pretend to have it all together. This quote, "I've had my little snooze at times." I'm like, don't push the snooze button. That's from a pastor being honest about his own struggles. It just creates this amazing culture where it's totally okay to not have everything figured out. So we've looked at the worship, the community, the teaching, but what's the core identity that really ties all of this together? What is the Oak, at its heart, really all about? When you boil it all down, it comes to this. We are imperfect people, finding our way and following Jesus together. That's the vibe. It's not about being perfect, not about putting on a show. It's just a group of real, imperfect people trying to figure out how to follow Jesus. And they're doing it together. So there you have it, a quick look inside a Sunday at the Oak. But of course, an explainer like this can only show you so much, right? The only way to really know what a community feels like is to experience it for yourself. So I guess the real question is, are you ready to see it firsthand?